The day of the sausage is coming. We're talking blueberry mint sausage, peach cobbler sausage, brisket Boudin, red, white, and blue, with different flavors, blueberry, cherry, and vanilla in one sausage. We kept turning the wheel, one weirdo sausage after the other, and really pushing the envelope of where this could take us. And then at that point, he said, you know, Sausage Sensei would be a really good name for you. You are the Sensei. You are the Sensei.
I'm on a journey to become the best cook I can be. And somehow on this journey, I've convinced people that are the best of the best at their craft to teach me. From backyard barbecue heroes turned restaurateurs that I can think of as peers, all the way to classically trained chefs turned pitmasters that are frankly a little intimidating. Well, today, you and I are gonna learn from the man who probably has the most personality and the most color anywhere in the barbecue industry. We're gonna learn from Bill Dumas, the Sausage Sensei. Bill!
Hey, buddy.
Hey, good to see you.
How you doing, brother?
Good to see you, man.
Are you ready to make some sausage, dude?
Let's go learn.
Let's make it happen. Come on, brother. So, are you excited?
I am pumped.
I am as well. We're gonna make 3 different kinds of sausages today, dude. We're gonna make what I call just like regular Central Texas hot gut or mild sausage.
Right.
Then we're gonna make not Yo Daddy's jalapeno cheese. And then, because I'm a weirdo and I like to think of sausages outside the box,
right,
we're gonna make the Christmas tamale sausage. Surprise.
Ooh. Okay.
So a Christmas tamale.
A tamale sausage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
1000%. We're gonna explode the tamale and reconstruct it into a tube, AKA sausage.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, brother. Make it happen. My earliest memory of barbecue would be with my grandfather, Curtis Dumas Sr., Kurt. We called him Popeye. He was the epitome of a true Texan. By golly, he was probably one of the best barbecue men when it comes to split chickens in the country. In fact, people would come from all over Cook County, Texas to get his split chickens. When he passed in 1981, and that was a huge punch in the gut for me. I drifted aimlessly for a long time as a result of his passing, and I've taken a lot of things that he did in respect to cooking. I carry it here. I don't carry it here. I carry it right here, because that's where it lives. Now, I mentioned whenever my grandfather passed in 1981 at the early age of 65 years old after his second heart attack, it was a huge blow to me. And granted, my father was on the road a lot, and I credit him for making an honest living and getting out there and hustling. He was probably one of the best salesmen in his territory as well. When my grandfather passed, that vacuum and that sense of lack of direction caused me to be a horrible juvenile delinquent. But I ended up joining the Marine Corps to straighten myself out. When I got out, I was still a little bit of a wild child and a troublemaker and just kind of drifting. And as I mentioned, I did a whole lot of different jobs trying to find my center and trying to find myself. And it was only through finding food has some, dare I say, a sense of salvation and tapping back into my family's roots that brought me full center and brought me back into myself. Because I didn't know who I was until I got into this industry. What I have in front of us is I have pre-measured amounts of meats and fats.
Okay.
The most commonly accepted meat to fat ratio is 70-30.
70-30, okay.
Yeah, so this is 10 pounds of product.
So we talk about 70-30, we're talking about weight, we're not talking about volume.
This is correct, and we want to be as accurate as we can. So this is what we're working with, and this is 7 pounds of lean brisket trim,
okay,
and 3 pounds of brisket fat. Now specifically, this is the decal fat.
Okay.
That's that hard heel fat.
So you're just using decal fat. You're not doing anything that's getting trimmed off of the top of the flat?
No, sir. Okay. So this is a cured product. Right. So what that means is we have kosher salt and we also have this pink cure salt. So we have an equation with these two guys put together cumulative. The industry accepted standard is 2% salt together. So on here, I have the measured rate of these two guys put together at 1.4%. 2% is industry standard, but Daddy clocked it back. Daddy meaning me.
Right.
And the reason why I clocked it back to 1.4 is to give myself headspace. So let's just say I wanted to put something like gochujang or samjang or fish sauce, something inherently salty.
Right.
Then that built-in amount of headspace by clocking that salt ratio back slightly means that I'm not going to oversalt the product in respect to umami or taste.
Okay.
And a note about this pink salt, you don't want to use too much of this. If you ingest too much of this, it will kill you. We don't want that.
So what is the ratio within the 1.4%?
No more than 12 grams of pink cure salt for every 10 pounds of product. So on a 10-pound batch, that equals to be 62 grams of kosher salt. And then on here, I have 6 grams of the pink salt. So now it's ice cold. I just pulled it out of the refrigeration unit. Now the key is this has to say ice cold. The closer you can get it to about freezing is going to keep specifically the fats happy.
Right.
When the fats get unhappy, when the fat gets angry, bad things happen. You need to cut this into pieces that will accommodate the type of grinder that you're using.
All right, so
And
I will do that and feed them to you and you'll feed them into the machine?
And off we go. If we look down here on this end, Al, you can see, now remember, heat is one of the primary factors in the creation of a meat emulsion, which is what exactly sausage is. So just this amount of frictional heat and ambient heat have caused the product to stick together. And that physically, when you physically try to pull the product apart, see it's got that J-Lo wiggle? So it's really kind of stuck together. And you see those white strands pulling away from the product? That's physically the myosin protein that we are extracting. And you can kind of feel how it's stuck together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is exactly what we want to see. And this is the initial stage in creating the meat emulsion. We're not there yet, but we're getting there.
Okay.
So here's one ancient Chinese secret. If we look on this end right here of the grinder and we feel like it needs to be cooled down, or if we want to push meat and fat through it so it doesn't get caught behind that plate and blade, what we can do is feed just a little bit of ice through it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And what that's going to do, watch that. See that on this end? We're making a meat snow cone. Would you like one?
No, thanks.
So, nonetheless, what that's going to do is that's going to clear the plate and blade out.
Okay.
So meat and fat don't get caught behind it and rotate around and break our emulsion prematurely simply by the inclusion of too much frictional heat. Okay, so this one's ground. Now we worked it. Now we got to get it cold again. Anytime you work the product in any way, and that includes just being out in this room in ambient heat, we're grinding it, we're mixing it, doesn't matter. We've gotten it quote unquote hot.
So we need to get this back.
So we got to get this back into the room and make it get happy again. Whenever my wife Kathy and I met in 2008, she was a very stabilizing factor in my life. And I was working at a candy factory by the name of Lamb's Candies. One day I called her after taking a nap underneath the nut roaster, and I said, honey, I kind of want to get a barbecue pit and try doing some barbecue related things. So I picked up an Oklahoma Joe offset barbecue pit from my dad that he wasn't using, and I started hot and heavy cooking briskets for folks that wanted to order one.
So he got got the smoker and just started cooking some briskets for friends, selling a few to friends, like for the holidays. I could tell that something was just sort of clicking, you know, in his head. He was drawing back on memories of his grandfather, who used to barbecue a lot of chickens for friends, and really, it just really kind of tapped something deep in him, it felt like. Pretty
soon, I had a steady customer, Stanley's Farmhouse Pizza. They became my first customer for briskets. And that really sparked the interest for barbecue. That also coincided with the time that this very popular TV show started coming on the air, known as Barbecue Pitmasters. And larger-than-life characters of Myron Mixon, Tuffy Stone, Mo Cason, and now my dear friend, Harry Sue. But nonetheless, business started picking up. I started cooking briskets for folks and kept amping up my brisket game and selling to more customers. Things happened, and I really wanted to dip my toe hard and heavy in the industry. A good job I found was at Smoky Denmark Smoked Meats. My first job there was basically they had me on the shipping and receiving dock. And yeah, it wasn't anything glamorous, but in working at Smoky Denmark, I interacted and interfaced directly with the gentleman who was employee number 1, hired by Mr. Denmark himself, and his name was Daniel Lucia. Daniel gave me a lot of good life lessons. He reminded me a lot of my grandfather. And I took it upon myself to tap his brain and learn everything that he could teach me about sausage making. As time went on, Smoky Denmark started a food truck. I started to head up that food truck. And we were making briskets and all manner of just normal barbecue, but also moving a lot of Smoky Denmark's products out of that food truck. But it really began to ramp up whenever we hired Keenan Goldis of Goldis Sausage Company. He had a food truck circulating around Austin at the time that was known for weird and exotic sausages, like marshmallow pumpkin mole sausage. Yeah, all different types of bourgeois. The guy was a psychopath. So we joined forces and really started doing some crazy things out of that food truck. We're talking mac and cheese sausage. We're talking blueberry mint sausage. It was awesome.
So clearly you took a liking to sausage.
That's what she said last night. So we're going to measure everything out by the gram. So this is chile ancho. And yes, I make my own ancho chili powder. I start from I start from the dried chili pods. I toast them and I grind them into powder. That's only by taking those small steps that you get the explosion of flavor. So we have 10 pounds of product, my brother. So we're gonna look for 17 grams of ancho. So chili guajillo, same amount, my brother, 17 grams.
Same 17, all right.
So our old friend mustard powder. This one right here is gonna be 6 grams. All right, so this is garlic. In respect to sausage land, all the seasonings must be dry. Why? Because we can measure them out more accurately. And not only that, we do not have to worry about moisture. Moisture is the enemy of our meat emulsion. Too much moisture, lights out, we've broken our meat emulsion.
Okay.
So this will be 25 grams.
Oh, all right, so we're going for it a little bit.
Yeah, so we like enough garlic to kill a vampire. Now here is where I build in some headspace. Now this kind of has an MSG effect to it right here. This is the Fiesta season at all, so nothing crazy here. So we're gonna look for 17 grams here. So this spice is ready to go. So now we're gonna write mild.
Okay.
Because I'm just a stickler for things like that. But we're not done.
Okay.
Because we already have our spices, we need a protein binder. Protein binder means something like milk powder.
Milk powder.
What the dry non-fat milk powder does is it enhances the amount of stickiness or tack when we extract our protein and create our emulsion. If you don't want to use this, then you can use high gluten rice flour. That's acceptable.
Why would I not want to use this?
For lactose purposes.
Okay.
So we're looking for 46 grams on a 10-pound batch.
45, 46.
Ah, you got it.
Boom, right on the money.
All right.
Okay.
So we're gonna go to jalapeno cheese. Man, I can smell that guajillo, and it is
so
awesome. Bearing in mind, even though these don't look like big measurements in respect to our batch size, they are. Here's a couple other things. Don't stick your nose in here. This is jalapeno powder.
Yeah.
I am gonna go with not much. There's just 6 grams.
Okay.
Ground turmeric. So this one right here, we're looking for 7 grams. Now this doesn't hardly weigh anything.
Right.
It's our old friend dried oregano. I had about a tablespoon there. Okay. It's somewhere around 2 grams. So there we go. I believe that is the jalapeno, and it is.
So
no,
we just
46
need our
grams.
binder, right?
Yep.
46.
So this is jalapeno.
Got it.
So it's the same amount. So we're looking for 17 and 17 across our ancho and chile. So 17 and 17 there, and guess how much garlic I'm gonna have?
26.
Yeah, 25, but
I know,
nonetheless.
I was just testing you.
Heard. We use garlic here responsibly.
Yeah.
Now we're using granulated garlic as opposed to garlic powder.
Yes, because the garlic powder can clump up when we go to liquefy this.
Got it.
So here we go with jalapeno powder, 6 grams.
Okay, so this is going in both of these. All right.
So we're gonna use 2 cloves. One clove, ha ha ha. two clove, but that one's broken, so we put in another one, ha ha ha. Coriander.
Okay.
So 1 tablespoon.
Okay.
Thyme, 1 tablespoon. Oregano, same thing.
All right, so this is a really herby kind of mixture here, okay?
Now, finally, comino. So what I'm looking for here is gonna be 12 grams.
Okay.
Off we go.
Got it. All right.
46 grams, that hasn't changed. These are 1 dozen pork tamales. All we gotta do is take the tamales and just
break them up.
disintegrate them thusly.
Okay.
So-
But these big chunks are gonna get mixed in.
Yeah, well, actually, we're not gonna mix them in. I'll show you later.
Okay.
So, off we go. There was a real crazy guy that started showing up. Anytime I put Alabama white sauce chickens on the menu, this guy would eat 2 of them. And his name was John Brotherton. So he started making some really crazy, unique sausages too. His blackened redfish Boudin, memorable.
Bill would come home and tell me about this guy who had a barbecue restaurant who would come and eat chicken whenever he had it on special, and how, you know, really funny guy, nice guy. And so they kind of got to be friends, kept in touch with each other.
We started trading sausages. We started trading wieners. The wiener swapping was pretty heavy. But along about that time, I put out another feeler because I wanted to really ramp up my barbecue game. I wanted to ramp it up. So I reached out to Stiles, and they had a slot open, and they plugged me in. So in October 2015, I started with the crew led by Lance Kirkpatrick at Stiles Switch. And man, that was running volume, because at that time we were really the only craft barbecue establishment that was open for later hours, and meaning dinner.
And there was no looking back.
Apparently. For me, food and this industry is also redemption, because I mentioned earlier that I was a horrible juvenile delinquent. I felt really, within the depths of my soul, I felt like I was rudderless, and I didn't have any rudder or any direction until 2 things happened. 1, I met my wife, Kathy. She gave me a sense of purpose and direction. 2, I reconnected with my son, who, because of all my wild years, I unfortunately lost contact with, and that's my fault. When I reconnected with my son, he was about 23 years old. I was happy to have him back in the house. And he and I reconnected, and he moved into the house with both Kathy and I. And I discovered he was a really talented musician. He was really into hardcore heavy metal music. We're talking Norwegian, Scandinavian, black metal. And I really helped him, and I tried to get him pushed into those interests. He was really going full bore into it. So much so that he became a 1-man black metal band.
They built some really nice new memories, going to some concerts, just, you know, sharing food, sharing experiences, just sharing themselves. And seeing that part of Bill's heart come back in, because it was always sort of a hole in his heart. And so when Sam came back and was living with us and was back in his life, it filled that hole.
But, you know, I guess he, you know, at some stage, he didn't really feel connected to something out there in the universe. Truth be told, you know, he took his own life at the age of 23. So that damn near destroyed me. When I reconnected with my son in 2011, 2012, that was a huge boost. When I lost him, that damn near destroyed me. It damn near destroyed me.
I think the hole was even bigger because of the fact that he had him and then he didn't, and then he had him and then he never would again. It was a very dark time for him.
I was hell-bent on just crawling into as many bottles as I could find and just basically self-destructing. I didn't give two hoots about life.
He didn't cope well with it. He didn't cope well with the loss. He didn't cope well with the way it happened. You know, anytime somebody takes their own life, there's always so many questions. Whether they leave a note or not, there's still so many questions and so many what ifs. And Bill really had a hard time with the what ifs. What if I had done this? What if I hadn't done that? And that was really hard for him to get past. And he went into a very deep hole afterwards. I don't know if I even understood at the time the extent, the depths of that hole. It was somewhat of a roller coaster. He'd have his good days, he'd have his bad days, he'd have his really bad days. A couple of years later, he had the really bad days and the really, really bad days and the very, very bad days, to the point where he wasn't sharing a lot of feelings. A lot of it was just me seeing him be sad, you know, depressed. Those aren't even adequate enough to describe where it kind of finally got to. It was when he said something to the effect of that he really doesn't want to be here anymore.
It got so much so to the point where basically I considered going down the same path as that of my son. I was brokenhearted. You really don't know pain until you lose a child in a manner like that, which is suicide. It will break you. You must be able to ask for help. God bless my wife, Kathy. She took me to a hospital, but I'm sitting there in that hospital at my lowest point in my life, sitting there, thinking about suicide, when all of a sudden this person leans down and basically gets in my face, gives me a hug, and says, everything is going to be okay. We're going to take care of you. We're going to make things right. Don't you worry about anything.
In a prior life, I was in healthcare. I was chief exec for psychiatric hospitals while I was doing photography on the side. I'm walking my hospital as I would typically do, doing the rounds on my units. And I saw Bill in our day room, waited for my moment, walked in. And that look he gave me, and I remember this look because it's the same look a lot of people give when they feel shamed and embarrassed. He needs to know that there are people there for him. There are people that are maybe familiar with him, and it's okay to be there. And that was kind of the start of our therapeutic relationship, per se. I wasn't treating him, my doctors were treating him, but at least he knew he had an ally there that was in his corner.
Hey folks, I know that was probably as powerful for you to hear as it was for me when I heard it the first time. This is important, so bear with me for a minute. It's after the first of the year. I know that some of you, just like me, are dealing with these kinds of stresses and all kinds of emotions and things that come out of the holidays, and many of you are in this business and you're probably experiencing some of those same feelings. And it's important to get help. And if you've got access to help through your network, use it. And if you don't, I'd like you to consider the sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online therapy platform that connects you to a network of over 30,000 therapists and allows you to get support from the comfort of your own home, from your computer or device. You don't have to be able to get up and go to a therapist's office to get help if you're using BetterHelp. So you start by filling out a questionnaire about you, about the stuff you're dealing with, about the kind of help that you need. And then BetterHelp matches you with a therapist from the 30,000 therapists that are in their network. So the therapists on the platform are carefully vetted and qualified. They make sure of all of that. Over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot. This is a platform that you and I can trust. Now, I want to be the best father and partner and friend that I can be, and that starts up here. So if this is a priority for you, like it is for me, I hope that you'll consider BetterHelp as a way of finding help. So it's super easy to get started. You can get started any day of the year. Just go to betterhelp.com/behindthefood. You can use the QR code you see on the screen. You can click the link in the description. You can even just go to betterhelp.com and choose Behind the Food as where you heard about it, and they'll give you a 10% discount off of your first month. And if you're in a good place and you don't need it, you probably know somebody who does, so please just pass it along. All right, let's get back to our story.
He was thinking about even just getting out of barbecue, going back and driving a truck or whatever. And so this guy, John Brotherton, called him and said, "Hey, you want to come make sausage for me?"
I was just kind of sitting around the house one day doing nothing when all of a sudden my phone rang. I picked it up, and it was that crazy guy that would eat 2 chickens at once. John said, "What are you doing? You want to meet with me at Putzke's barbecue, and we'll have a barbecued chicken and talk over whether or not you want to make a lot of sausage for me." So met up at Putzke's barbecue over there in Hutto, ate a barbecue chicken or 2, and then handshake deal. Next thing you know, the very next day, I'm at his establishment, and we're creating the sausage program, hot and heavy. And then I started hearkening back, because I was having a whole heck of a lot of fun making all this cotton picking sausage. And I was, man, really making some good stuff. It didn't take us long to develop the recipes. I already knew what I wanted for John. He was very happy and very pleased. We started making things in earnest, and it was all of a sudden I got into it, and it was like an internal switch that just went click. Off we go to the races. And it was at that point I said, well, we've got a good thing going on. We're going to start doing things crazy, and we're going to do it our way.
When John gave him that opportunity, it really, you could just see the spark come back. You could see the light come back. You could see the fire come back in his eyes, and the creativity just, I'm not even going to say the creativity flowed, it just gushed.
All right, my brother, so we are ready to rock and roll. Everything that we've done today has got us to this point. So what we're looking for, a ratio of 10% liquid equation versus the weight of that product. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go 50-50 over here. All right. So that's gonna be about a 1/2 pound of ice to a 1/2 pound of water.
Okay.
And go about roughly 1/2 pound, shall we?
Okay.
Beautiful. No, that works. That's cool. Oh, hear that guy. Okay, I forgot.
All right.
Carefully bring it up to 1. So here we go. So that's 10% versus the weight of the product.
Right.
Now, let's grab our measured out seasonings and our milk powder. Right. Dump that in there.
Okay.
Then add the water to that equation. Please,
the water
sir.
is. Okay.
Now, might I add that this is a really good point right here to add anything other than water. Stocks, beer, wine, whatever. But in the case of alcohol, make sure you get the alcohol off. And in the case of stocks, make sure it's skimmed and strained. So, snap the old lid on. I assume you know how to work one of these, because I reckon you've made a margarita before. So basically what I'm looking for is something, oh God, if we had smell-o-vision, wow, scratch and sniff TV could be a thing.
That would be so cool.
So all we gotta do now, my brother, is get that in here with our old friend, the rubber spatula. And you can see the consistency of that slurry. Yeah. And the reason why I like to use what's called a wet bind, and this is, called a wet bind, is because that liquefies all the seasonings consistently into the product. When you go in here, what I want you to do is I want you to go from the bottom up, side to side, round to round, corner to corner, and loosely incorporate it. Once you've incorporated it, then I want you to get very aggressive. So much so, as you're going along, you're gonna notice it getting gummier and tackier and stickier to the point where it wants to pull your glove off. Good sign.
All right.
Make sure you get that in there. Don't leave him out. How does it feel to the hand?
It's not pulling the glove off yet. It's not tacky yet.
Yeah.
But it's getting there.
Yeah,
it's firming
getting
up.
there.
I don't know if you can see it on camera, but this really is not the texture of ground beef at this point.
No.
Like this emulsion is forming now, and I can feel it.
I'm just looking and feeling myself. Now, if I pick this up, we can see it forms kind of like a cake. And to your point, yeah, it's not like ground beef at all.
Right.
So if I try to pull it apart, see those white strands pulling away from the product? Those white strands pulling away from the product are physically, in front of your eyes, the myosin protein that has been extracted from the protein. Now, we can't unravel a protein strand, but we can stretch it like taffy. And that's what we've done here. And this also rides the same parallel of bringing whatever fat we're using, in this case decal fat, to its initial state of emulsion. And that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah,
so
I can feel it.
that's pretty cool. So we've heated it up in relative terms, so now we're gonna make it get cold again. So back in the refrigeration unit it goes. Okay, let's rock and roll. So
Same thing with the blender?
yep, the same thing. So same bat channel, same bat time. Half a pound of water in our spice mix that we measured out earlier.
Right.
With the dry non-fat milk powder.
All right.
So in she goes. Look at the color on that too. Now there's one more thing with the jalapeno. Remember what I told you about moisture? It's
Yes.
the enemy of our meat emulsion.
Right.
How do you conquer that? Dried jalapeno flakes. We're gonna end up using about a half a cup. Here's where it matters, back here. There is our cheese component.
Okay.
Now, I like to adhere to a rate of 10% versus the weight of the product. And we'll weigh out 1 pound of the cheese. And I'm not gonna be mad if you go a little over, so don't sweat it too much.
Okay, because I like a lot of cheese in my sausage,
I know
so I'm
you do.
probably going to go over accidentally. There we go. There's a pound-ish.
So here we go. Everybody's at the party. So it's just gonna be the same equation as last, where we'll loosely incorporate it, and then we'll get more aggressive, which will, of course, create the emulsion. Same as before as with the mild. And this one's gonna actually feel a little bit more stiff,
It does.
and that's just because of the cheese and all the little other fiddly bits.
Okay.
So, and that's to be expected. Now, the theme is back in she goes.
Okay, you go hang out, get cool. You'll be in my belly later.
Now, here we go. So here is our tamales,
Tamales.
that we tore up. These are actually gonna go layered into the can, but I'm just bringing
Really?
yeah. Resist the temptation to go from here to there, because what's gonna happen, you gotta think about it. If I do that, that's gonna tear all this up further, and you won't get that visual and textural effect.
Right.
Plus, it also could interfere with the emulsion itself, and we don't want that to happen either. So this is gonna be not unlike the mild or the jalapeno. Same thing. We're just gonna incorporate it, mix, extract the protein, off we go.
I never would have been able to recognize when it's done before. I mean, this is super helpful.
Yeah, and then look at your glove. See that white
Yeah.
sheen? That's actually the fat. So we know that if we keep going, we're gonna overmix it.
Right.
If we overmix this, what's gonna end up happening is it will break the emulsion, and you won't know it right now. You will know it when it comes off of that pit, and it is a crumbly, greasy mess. And it's not gonna be tight and compact, you won't have color retention, and it'll just feel soft and weird. All right, so believe it or not, I just heard a timer going off behind me, and I've got something really special out on that pit. I think you need to look at it.
Yeah?
Let's go find out.
All right, let's go.
We got a whole load of Boudin out here. This is Brisket Boudin, and like I was telling you, Oh man, look at those glistening wieners. Look how the sausages or the boudin are glistening in the sunlight. So nonetheless, I want you to do the honors. You can snap it. Oh, cheers.
Cheers. So good.
Man. Isn't
That's
it?
better than the boudin I've had in Louisiana.
Well, yeah, Daddy don't play. That's right. This is really good because it's not your traditional boudin whatsoever. The real good smoky essence of the brisket is present in there. The rice, I do some crazy things with the rice. I confit the rice. So these have gotten really nice and happy. So now we're gonna get them out of the pit, laid out on the sheet trays here, and into refrigeration. And then they rotate first in, first out, and go that way towards the restaurant and towards the customer. So off we go. So basically, we're gonna get the product that we created, this is the mild sausage, into the can,
Okay.
and then we'll tamp it down, thusly. So, meaning to say, by tamping it down, that is gonna lessen the likelihood of any air pockets.
Okay. So no air pockets when we stuff. Makes
That's
a better
gonna make your
sausage.
life a whole lot easier when you go to linking. Up onto the pins, and now we're loaded.
Okay.
Now what we wanna do, now this one has an electric motor that makes it very fast. So you notice I got my finger in here and I'm just feeling for the product. Because essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to prime the horn, right? And get the product up to this point to get the air out and just prime it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna feel for it. Again, sending the piston downstream.
There we go.
Hear it?
Yep.
And I just felt it. Boom.
All right.
Primed, ready to go. Okay, now I'm gonna lubricate the horn and I'm gonna get this. This is like putting the water balloon on the hydrant. On she goes, and it's gonna feel more fragile than it actually is.
Okay.
So now I've got it threaded, started. Now I'm gonna pick this water pocket up that I have here,
Right.
like I'm throwing a lariat, and I'm gonna it'll kind of wad up on you sometimes, so you're just gonna get it up onto the horn.
Right.
Now we gotta fill it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply pressure on the upper third of this horn, and I'm gonna go, right? And I usually count to 4, 3, and 4.
Okay.
Then I cut it loose. Now what we got is an even rope all the way down the line. That's what we want. We want the same diameter all the way down this rope. March 2020 happened and the whole cotton picking restaurant industry started circling the drain. Well, I have a really good friend of mine who kind of works in and out of Interstellar, and his name is Max. He's a trained Italian chef who travels worldwide as the barbecue consultant. One of the most interesting people I've ever met in my life. And I met him through John Brotherton. So Max was grounded, much as we all were, because he wasn't able to do his barbecue consulting worldwide. So he came into the back door one day and basically said, hey, you're very good at what you're doing. You know, have you ever thought about making video? I said, yes, I have. So Max came in and shot a video and put it up on his YouTube channel. And it did very well. So he said, hey, you're very good at what you're doing. Have you ever thought about teaching classes? I said, no, but I'll put out a feeler. I put out a feeler in June of 2020. And buddy, the response of people coming in wanting to learn how to make sausage was phenomenal. From June of 2020 at Brotherton's establishment until where I'm sitting at across from you, I've been booked solid every single Saturday unless I'm on the road. That's phenomenal.
So that's when the sausage Sensei was born.
Yeah. So we kept turning the wheel, and one sausage class after the other, one weirdo sausage after the other, and really pushing the envelope of where this could take us. When one day, there's a really great photographer I know by the name of Christopher Cardoza. So we're sitting over here at Burnt Bean, enjoying a nice, good breakfast over there, when Chris said, you know, Sausage Sensei would be a really good name for you. You are the Sensei. You are the Sensei. And it stuck, so Chris gave me the name. Here we go.
Okay.
So we have effectively cased it, meaning shoved the meat into the tube,
Right.
i.e. the casings, and now we need to link it. So I'm gonna lay the sausage across my hand.
Across your hand.
Because you know when you milk an animal, you're grabbing it like this.
I don't know that, but I believe you.
Factual.
Okay.
So we're gonna use that same methodology. Whenever I lay the sausage across my hand here, when I close my hand, watch the product move this way. Are you ready?
Yep. Got it. Okay.
Get off of it. Now that's pushing it this way. Now I'm gonna size it in respect to getting my initial length.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do it like that. Again, watch the product go this way. Ready?
I'm ready. All right.
So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab it here, just like that. Now look at this hand. I'm gonna go this way with it. So that means I'm using my fingers to do this.
Okay.
Okay? Now I'm gonna go in slow motion. Watch this hand and this hand. Look at that. Even if you think there's an air pocket, get it.
Just get it.
Because you can't compress that air in here. And there we go. Now feel that.
Oh, that's nice and tight.
Nice and tight. That's the way it needs to be. And there we go. All of relative equal length and tightness. These are gonna go right back into the walk-in.
Okay.
And they're gonna condition overnight, uncovered, so the fan inside that walk-in,
Right.
coming off that evaporator coil, will come across this product and start to dry these casings and shrink it down.
So when we come back tomorrow morning, these will be chilled and the cases will be dried out and it'll be even more firm.
This is correct. The world starts to open up, the restaurant starts getting a whole lot more busy, and we're making all kinds of innovative and crazy cool sausages. One of them that I remember once the world started opening up, Troubadour Fest Salina, that was the first Troubadour, was the chocolate pecan pie sausage garnished with the coffee whipped cream and the caramel sauce. Another gentleman that came around the restaurant at that time, and I had met him in Perth, Australia. When I look across the way, holy moly, it's one of the guys from the Barbecue Pitmaster show, Harry Sue. So, unbeknownst to me, Harry Sue's thinking the same thing. He says, I'm all the way down here in Perth, Australia, and there's some crazy guy with a Texas accent over there cooking Texas barbecue in Australia. We hooked up and we made immediate friends. Harry really did a lot to help me in respect to the sausage classes as well, because he filmed and did a lot of things to promote the sausage classes on his end. He didn't have to do that. Fun fact, fast forward to today, and I teach probably at least 4 classes per year at Harry's place in Diamond Bar, California. He has become a very close, dear friend of mine. You will not find a smarter person in barbecue. I think he's like barbecue Yoda. When he starts talking, shut up and listen, because his life stories and his wisdom that he has here, oh, very, very good person. God bless John Brotherton as well, because he actually saw something within me that I myself didn't see at the time. He helped give me a sense of purpose. I remember going into work, and one of our pit guys, Bobby said, unfortunately, John's in the hospital. He's in ICU, and he hung on in ICU for about a good week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, before he eventually passed. And that just said, here we go again. Took and dumped my world upside down. Here we go. I lost my brother. We had literally traveled the world together. This is the gentleman that helped me find my purpose and find where I needed to be within this universe called barbecue. And here he is, now he's gone. Now I can't pick up the phone and call him if I need something, or just BS with him.
So how did you pull up out of that?
man, I just plowed through. I did what I had to do. I had to keep the business operating. So that meant day after day while he was in ICU until he finally was ready to go or needed to go, however you want to say it. Basically came in and did what we needed to do to keep the business running. By that time, it was a revolving door of people from literally all over the world. We had to keep the ship going, and we just did what we needed to do. So this is what's going to happen. The heat in this pit, because this is an offset pit, means that the fire essentially is in that opposite end, right? And if you think of pits basically as an air pump, right? Hot air is rising and finding a vacuum on this other end of the pit, and the length and diameter and size of the stack creates the suction or pull.
Right.
So that we have to take into account, because remember, all we're trying to do here is shrink and contract the casings using a nominal amount of heat. That nominal amount of heat is 150 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if we exceed that temperature parameter of 150 to 175, I can guarantee you that we are going to break our emulsion, our intermix. All right, that stack is shut by a quarter. I'm happy with that. So now all we have to do now is set our handy dandy timer. Hey Siri, set a timer for 30 minutes. Boom. And now 30 minutes later, we're going to only check the fire and make adjustments. We're not going to raise this hood until we're 3 timers in, meaning 1.5 hours. At that point, we're probably going to bet, you want to bet me?
No.
Somewhere between 115 to 120 degrees internal temperature. When the Lord closes the door, he opens a little window. So as tragic as John's situation was, and still is, there's a lot of really good people out there in the universe. This industry is full of them. This barbecue industry as a whole is full of John Brothertons. So the Schulze family really fit that bill as far as I'm concerned. When things happened with John, I reached out and we sat down and had a meeting, and that's when it was discovered that, yes, in fact, they would like to work with me and basically keep going where we had left off prior.
So when we decided to bring him in for our sausage program, there were so many factors. It all perfectly aligned. He was available, he was ready to find a new home with his sausage production and expand himself. We were also looking to grow as a company, and just his expertise in sausage and how quickly he can link it and everything that he can make, the quantities and all the different specialties, it just aligned with what we were looking for. And he came down here one afternoon to talk to my dad and myself, and we talked to him for like 3 hours on the patio. And I was like, okay, yeah. And he had his stuff, he moved in that day. So yeah. He was like, oh, I'm just gonna unload some stuff.
The third timer went off. We're an hour and a half in, plus some manuals. So let's look and see what we got. Oh, very nice.
Oh, those are pretty.
Look at the pronounced difference in respect to color, my friend. So we really have good color development. And remember, the earmarks for a proper sausage are color retention. You eat with your eyes first. And as you can feel, the sausage...
It's tight, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's what we want. But you can feel internal, it's kind of spongy. Feel that?
Yes.
So that tells us it's still raw on the inside. Right. And we've been Cadillacing for only about 150 degrees. All right, so I laid hands on it. You laid hands on it. You got any bets in respect to temperature?
117.4.
Ooh, very specific. I'm gonna go 115. Who's closest? Neither one of us.
Wow.
We both lost.
So in only an hour and a half, we got those that hot.
Yeah, but then again, feel down here as we go closest to the firebox.
It's a little more firm.
But we're going to take a median temperature straight across in different zones of the pit. So we're only hunting for really essentially about 15 degrees.
Right.
We're both wrong. Boy, oh boy, I should not have gotten so confident with that. So we're just gonna let them Cadillac along and keep doing their thing. If it hadn't have been for this industry and for barbecue as a whole, I probably wouldn't be here right now. Or if I were, I'd probably be laying out in Skid Row somewhere, just destroying myself. But this is redemption. This industry and what I do for a living right now, thank God I'm able to do this for a living, because I don't know where I would be. I would not be somewhere good. You wouldn't want to be around me, trust me. You would not want to be sitting across the table from me if it wasn't for this industry and for barbecue and for sausage. It is redemption, because it was healing for me. It healed me because it actually helped reconnect me to my family's history, a la my grandfather, but it also gave me a sense of purpose and direction that I didn't have and pulled me out of the gutter. It's a redemption story. All right, here we go, right for the picking. Boom. Obviously our jalapeno cheese, let's just go ahead and test. This is exactly where I want to be.
Okay,
in respect to temperature.
Okay.
Let's just take a medium temp down here just to make sure. And that way we have a good overall reading across the pit. Wow, they really are the same
really
across the, that is impressive. Sometimes I get impressed. So based on how they look and feel and temp, I'm gonna say that these are ready and ripe for the pulling. But the important thing is, which is the most important thing, we have to try it for quality control.
Well, you know, for quality purposes.
Yeah, for quality
Right.
purposes, man. Let me pick out a good, well, you pick out one, you're
All
the
right.
guest.
Should we start with jalapeno cheddar? Should we
Jalapeno
start with
cheese,
mild?
Mild is, here, I'll grab you a mild.
All right.
There's a mild.
Okay.
So try that. Let's listen for the snap. Ready?
All right. Yeah.
Yes! Did you hear that?
I think they heard that all the way in Arkansas.
Whoa! Look at that. But look at the cross section. So color retention, nice, because you eat with your eyes, so the color's nice. But the cross section, you see the casing is drawn tightly onto the inner mix where it's almost invisible.
Cheers.
Cheers, my brother. Oh, I heard it snap again. Dude.
I'm speechless. Like, this is, you know, just Texas hot cut mild. It's not just, this is special. The snap is like incredible. Like the texture of this for a lowly, okay, just a hot gut. Like this is
Very nice.
very nice.
I really wanted to pay proper homage to the sausage that settled Texas.
Should we try the jalapeno cheddar?
I want you to pick one out.
All right, look at this one. This one I can see big pieces of cheddar. All right, do you think it's gonna snap?
Let's find out.
All right, here we go.
Oh, it did.
It did. It did. And look at it again.
Oh, yeah.
Look how juicy that is.
Dude, look at that. Very, very nice. Oh, man. Dude, I'm telling you what, man. When they're fresh off the pit like that, they're the best that they're ever going to be. They're so good like this.
Look at this. This is heaven.
It's wiener heaven. There is such a place.
All right, so should I go grab a tamale sausage?
No, not yet. Slow down. We're gonna get these unloaded first,
Right.
and then I'll plate this up properly for you right after we get these guys unloaded.
Okay.
Sound good?
All right, sounds good.
Yep, let's make it happen.
I've never seen a sausage served like this before, Bill.
No, you probably haven't. Normally I would just serve the tamale sausage as, well, the tamale sausage.
Right?
Yawn. So I wanted to present it properly. So I wanted to use the tamale sausage as the tamale itself, because we've already taken the tamale, exploded it, and put it together in a tube.
Right.
Okay, but why not use the sausage has the tamale itself? 86 of the tamale, put the sausage down on there, cut it nicely, and then cover it Tex-Mex style with my Texas brisket chili. I want you to do the honors, if you will.
All right, I'm taking the first bite, but I see there's another fork there for you, so get in there. All right,
So
I'll go to this end.
you stay on your side of the island, Gilligan, I'll stay on mine.
Cheers.
Cheers. Wow.
You slice that sausage and it still has snap in my mouth, first of all. That's fantastic. I love this presentation. The sausage itself is spectacular and I can still taste it. I love that brisket chili too.
That brisket chili doesn't play.
Dude, this is a masterpiece.
For the past 4 years, sausage has taken me around the globe. I've taught sausage making classes and consulted and demoed on 3 different continents and 5 different countries.
So you've got to be flying high at this point. Like you've got your sense of purpose.
I got my sense of purpose, man, and let me tell you, dude, the thing about it is, if you're 2 things. If you're good at something, why not promote it, right? And help the next person. If it stays central to me, right, and I'm just the guy and I'm just making sausages and slinging it out here through the restaurant, what good is it if it doesn't live on? By teaching others the craft of sausage making, that's my way of keeping the art and the skill set alive. It needs to live, and that's the reason why I'm so passionate about teaching others. I do what I do every day to keep the ball moving forward.